The views expressed in this video are solely those of the host and the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization or entity that may be affiliated with. We encourage the viewer to conduct their own research. Hi there, and welcome back to PackBreakers, a show on tobacco harm reduction and the people of tobacco harm reduction. To continue with our series on vape shop owners and operators, we have another two guests, wonderful people from Pretoria, and those are the managers of two shops in Pretoria, both of them Vapers Corners. So welcome Craig and Lee to PackBreakers. I'm glad you could come this way and share some thoughts around your life in vaping. So thank you.
Anything to help you, Kurt, help Vaping Save My Life, and PackBreakers, we're always going to be there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
100%.
So I like to start a conversation always around, was there a smoking history, and did you try to quit smoking, and your introduction to vaping. So Lee, I think you're the bad sheep in this conversation.
Well, for good reason.
Yes.
For good reason. I was never a smoker. Never smoked a single cigarette in my whole life. But I do not see it as a bad thing. I see it in the sense of I matriculated in 2013, and around about 2012, I think every single person that is a smoker will start their journey with a bunch of friends that experimented with smoking. It's very rare that you get someone that sat in a confined room and go, I think I need to smoke a cigarette. And I had all my friends, peer pressure is a thing. Maybe we should try a smoke. I didn't want to. I've always been a very inquisitive child and even a young adult. And I didn't like the smell of it. I didn't like anything of it. Come from a family of smokers, and I decided, let me try to do some research and see if there's not something else that can mean something for me so that I can still be cool. As odd as it sounds, that's where we all were as youth. And I started finding things on vaping. I'm like, what is this? But let's have a look at it. Did my research on what goes into an e-liquid, and I'm like, that's very interesting. These ingredients is in tomato sauce. I used to nebulize as a kid. It's the same ingredients that goes into a nebulizer, the pouches that you put in your nebulizer. Let me experiment with this. And I found a tobacconist that sold some vaping products as well. And I bought my first vape. I was also very fortunate to have a mother that was very open-minded to when we wanted to experiment with stuff as long as it's safe. I gave her all the details. I gave her the information to go and read up, and I started vaping. And it was very weird for people because a lot of people thought that I was experimenting with drugs because you have a glass tube with liquid in it and no one understands what it is. So I did get a lot of looks. People thought I was very cool. Let's ask Lee for drugs. I'm like, it's not drugs. It's e-liquid. I also didn't vape nicotine. I just wanted something else. And within that, that's 2013, we're in 2024, and I've never started that smoking addiction. I don't have something to go, okay, I need to use something to get off of it. I get a lot of people that ask me, but why did you then later on start using nicotine in your e-liquid and now you're addicted to it? I'm like, no, I can 100% argue with that and say, am I addicted to the hobby of vaping? 100%. It's my life. It's my livelihood. It's what I do every day. It's what I fight for. But I can go weeks without vaping, whether it was going for a surgery or something, and I don't go through withdrawals. I don't get the itch. Do I miss it? And do I go, damn, I'm so used to having something in my hand? 100%. But that's an addiction to a routine, not nicotine. So if you understand nicotine and you use it right, it's not the demon that people make it out to be. And I really wish, as controversial as it sounds, that I can go into clubs and I can go to schools and educate them on 0 milligrams of nicotine so that you never have to start that addiction. It's very easy for people to say, but just tell them not to do it. We all were kids. Don't tell us not to do it, because we are going to do it.
Because that's exactly it.
Yes, and that was my journey to it. But getting into vaping, and through that, I maybe never smoked cigarettes, but I did get my whole family off cigarettes, just by experiencing this product. And I can, with confidence, say, going through a health scare 2 years ago or so, that my lungs is clean, according to the doctors of South Africa, and I had 5 doctors that had to figure out what was wrong with me. My lungs was cleared by 5 different doctors. If I asked them for the paperwork, because I work in the vape industry, they say no. That's on them. But my only question that I usually leave people with, if this product is so bad, how is it not showing on my clean lungs that's never had a cigarette? That's my vaping introduction.
Yeah, and there is currently a study that's going on where we are looking for individuals that have no smoking history but are vapers. And I can tell you firsthand, because I am part of that team, how difficult it is to find those individuals that have no smoking history and moved over to vaping. And that's why I think I refer to you as like the black sheep, because that's it. Craig, you more traditional,
Very
bad boy.
Yes, rebel.
Yeah,
I rebelled like a champion, and with that came all the pitfalls of rebellion, was falling perhaps into bad habits. Smoking was chief among them, probably. I'll probably paraphrasing there, but okay. Smoking was bad. Since 15, I believe I was in grade 7, that's then at 5, right? Yeah. I was in grade 7 when I first tried a cigarette, but my mom was a smoker, my grandfather was a smoker, so it's been around me all my life. I kind of started with turbo lettuce first before I started with combustible tobacco, but eventually, the combustible tobacco became a much bigger way of life and necessity in your lifestyle than the electric spinach would have been, which was more a recreational sort of a thing. But it was your day-to-day coping mechanism since I was 15. And fast forward a bunch of years, 25 to be precise, when I was on holiday, and I saw a gentleman with a strange tube with a liquid inside of it, with what I thought was smoke coming out of him. And I'm the guy who's going to stop you in your track and go, "What is that thing?" And he explained to me, "No, this is a vape, a clearomizer, I believe that they were called, the old twist clearomizers."
Yes.
And he explained it to me, and I'm like, "Can I try it?" Sorry,
No.
And COVID was nothing yet, so yeah, sure. And tried it, and it piqued my interest very much, so that I went and I did research. I still continued to smoke, went home after the holiday, but had this conversation with my wife the whole time, who was also a smoker at the time. And our daughter, I think, was around 5 or 6 years old around at that time. So we were both smoking, trying to avoid smoking around her, but yeah, bottom line, didn't really happen. But then I saw this guy, and I did some research. I went onto the internet, which in 2013, there wasn't a lot.
Very vague.
But there were still, and I'm going to use the name of some of the vaping advocates and people who would build coils on YouTube. And I really started doing a bit of research there. And even then, I got to the point where it looked like it was, at least on paper, safer. So I thought, okay, well, I'm keen to try it. I spoke to my wife about it. We made the decision, and on the 25th of November of this year, that's 12 years ago, that we stopped smoking.
And haven't smoked since.
Have not had one cigarette since. Very lucky. I don't know where that willpower came from, but I had it, and my wife as well. And the last day I smoked was the first day I started vaping, because my wife and I both killed our last one, walked into what was then a tobacconist, and the only real access anyone had to these products, and they were not in very large amounts, and they were kind of sequestered to a corner. But they tasted, they worked like cigarettes, they looked like cigarettes. So I thought, give it a go. Yeah,
And that was it.
that was it. That's all I needed. The first 2 weeks were a bit cuck, for lack of a better word. But it passed. And eventually I didn't notice it. And then later on I realized that this stuff actually stinks. Cigarettes stink fundamentally. And then light bulb moment. Okay, this is all the problems. This is where all the problems with health is coming from, is now that I've removed this from me. Well, you still have the nicotine, sure, but I feel better. I have more energy. Why is that?
And your sense of smell and taste comes
Sense
back.
of smell and taste, that improved within 2 weeks already. And you could noticeably taste something that you had 2 weeks prior that tasted a certain way is now, you can't really put your finger on it. It's just different.
How was the salt?
Better. No, it's better for some reason.
It's actually quite alarming, because it's one of the things that I pick up straight away is how bad a person who smokes actually smells. And I think it's part of that whole connotation that is lumped with smoking, is that, and I try to be as fair as possible. I mean, I was brought up in a smoking household. My entire family smoked. So I effectively started smoking in the womb.
Hell, same here.
Yeah, so...
Smoke babies.
Yes. So it was only within those 2 weeks, after those 2 weeks, that you start realizing how it does smell. And this is no judgment on those individuals, because we were all in that boat.
Yeah.
But it does highlight the fact that it falls part of that whole connotation. And I do, to this day, I think in our previous podcast, Rob Fisher did apologize to all the people as to what he smelled like as a smoker. And I kind of get where he's coming from. So then you quit smoking. How did you get into the vape space, the vape game? I mean, you don't own a shop per se, but you've been managing some very successful shops for the longest time.
Yeah, it's been just over 8 years now.
Yes.
At the time when I made the transition into vaping, I was managing a liquor store. I was working for a corporate liquor city. And I had taken my first steps into vaping, and then started seeing other things related to vaping, not just my little sticky, cigarette-y looking thing, but tubey things with tanks on top and bigger, thicker, wider. And then I started going down the rabbit hole and seeing how people are making coils. And that's what got me, is the hobbyist aspect of it. And the techniques that you would employ to make an atomizer out of wire. And back in those days, there weren't many options. It was quite basic. So it took me 2 months of saving. I got my first device and started vaping in the liquor store, because the owner had no problem with it. So sweet. And then I thought, okay, well, I want to maybe help other people. So I went to the owner of corporate liquor city, and I put my vape down on the table in front of him, and a lovely old timer called Manny Otigia said, "What's that thing?" I said, "This is the new thing I want to put in the liquor store, if I may." "What is it?" So I explained it to him. He goes, "Oh, okay, cool." I said, "Can I use your money?" Because obviously I don't have money. So I said, "Yeah, sure." And I had he had the big 400 checkbook books, the double one. He said, "No, anything." I had signing rights, so I said anything. So my first order, my first inquiry was to the king of vaping. Still waiting for an answer, sadly. But then my second query was to a small online store called Vapers Corner.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I spent the first check I cut them was 77 grand.
Gee whiz.
Of someone else's money. And I'm really good at spending other people's money. Good. Let me assure you of that.
We should talk after the show.
Yes, certainly. And I got the stuff in, and I very quickly found out that I have a massive passion. And when the one of the owners then brought me the stock, we got to talking, and basically said that I don't like the liquor trade. That working in the liquor trade actually made me stop drinking, weirdly, because I can get it for cheap, but no, it put me off it. And then we had a chat. And I said, well, if you guys ever think of opening a store, maybe talk to me about it. And according to him, on his way back to Pretoria, he phoned his partner and he said, I think we found the guy.
Okay.
And
that was it.
Vapers Corner brick and mortar was started in 2016, July 2016. And
you opened the doors.
I opened the doors. We're still there. And we managed to open up a store in Kyalami and in Atterbury Value Mart, which is a bit of a shoebox compared to the other two stores. But nonetheless, it is a Vapers Corner, same aesthetic, same design, look of the shelves and everything. It's copy-paste.
And also the same service,
yes.
I've noticed.
Yes. So that's I think was the biggest thing, and it's so beautiful that the Vapers Corner was started in such an organic way of, we found someone that they found in Craig someone who actually cares to help people. And it wasn't a let's get a shark of a salesperson that can open up this business, because you cannot have a successful vape store if that is your mentality. The sale cannot be the main, you need it, but it can't be the main motivation. And what I think what sets Vapers Corner apart from a lot of the newer pop-up shops is the fact that you had Craig and Renee, him and his wife, that had this passion for the store and for the customers. And for instance, his wife has this beautiful brain that can remember someone's name that she heard 50 years ago, although she's not 50.
Psychotic.
But it's a very personalized experience. When I started at Equestria, because that's where I started first, I'll never forget Craig telling me, this is like a barbershop. People are going to walk in here, they're going to be stressed. They're not going to maybe have a good day. What can you do to make it better? You're already giving them the advice, but let's not just focus on the advice, but how can we make this better? And it was the same for me in the sense of, I worked at a bank. I absolutely hated it. They started with retrenchments for the older people. And I was like, please. And my mom asked me, where are you going to go now? I said, well, I started working my first day out of school, so I'm going to go and do something I really want. And she's like, oh, what's that? I said, I'm going to go work in a vape shop. That doesn't even exist. I'm like, no, it does. And if you get in your car now, you can take me to one of these vape shops. And she's like, what's your plan? I'm like, I'm going to walk in and say, I want to work here. And she's like, yes, Lee, that's a great idea, with a lot of sarcasm. And I walked into Equestria and I said to Craig, do you have a job opening? Because I want to work here. And I could see everyone like looking at me, what's just chick on about? But we started talking, and in that time of the vape industry where everything was about the bigger devices, it was a lot easier to figure out if someone can work in a vape shop or not. And Craig had this beautiful thing that he used to do with people is he would put different devices that's in different categories from start to kit to experience in front of someone and say, explain. And
no, because they say in the application, oh, yes, I vape.
Yes. And he's like, so do you vape? I'm like, yeah, I've been vaping for more than 10 years. He's like, that's impossible. I'm like, no, been vaping from 2012 is when I bought my... He's like, okay, that's cool. And you put the stuff in front of me, and he's like, oh, okay, you know what you're talking about. When do you want to start? Now. And I literally walked back and told my mom, listen, I think I got the job, but you can go home now and you can come fetch me at 7. And I never left. That was August of 2017.
Gee whiz.
So it is very much a family company that we do not have for a retail store. We really don't have like a quick turnaround of employees. We actually have quite employees that stay for long because it's that passion. And if they don't have that passion, that's when they don't last.
Yeah.
But it's that passion for, I can make a living and I can help someone.
It's a vocation.
I am the first point of start for someone to not get cancer. Potentially. That's such a, and I don't have to go and study to be a doctor. I don't have to do any of these things. I can give them an enjoyable way to get off combustible products and save them from many future illnesses related to smoking combustible cigarettes.
But it's not only that. You're actually making a wish come true, because for close to 70% of long-term smokers, there's a deep desire to quit, but are unsuccessful on many occasions. My story is testament to that. And you now standing there and you have the potential to make that wish come true. And it's not something you can just pull off the shelf and say, there it is, that's your job done. I think what sets independent vape shops apart from where all the other products are available is that the time it takes to deal with that as individuals, to establish what is actually going to work for them. And I think there's a fantastic success rate in a lot of these shops. And in fact, there is a study that was done in the UK showing the value that these shops, these independent small vape shops, have to society or to the community in helping people make that transition. Because it's not just that first interaction. It's the subsequent interactions thereafter, because it's not a light switch. It's not a binary process. It's a walk. It's a journey to take them off. And some people, yes, quit straight away, and some people take months to get off.
And a lot of people might have misconceptions, and they think, and Lee will attest to this, I am the voice of reality inside of my store. Yes, we need to make a sale. It's a shop. Hello. Yes, that's what happens here. But you, my customer, have to understand that this thing isn't a magic pill. It's not just going to magically make your life better as you walk out of my doors. No, there is, I mean, at the time...
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. You have to dedicate yourself to understanding this tool and incorporating it to your life, and understand that how smoking and vaping are fundamentally different. Yes, they're the same. You inhale something into your lungs and then exhale it. Right. That's where it ends. It is not made from the same stuff, doesn't work the same. A cigarette, for lack of a better word, is a perfect design.
Yes.
It cannot be improved upon. Vaping, as we all know in the vaping industry, covers a whole ocean of different looking devices, battery sizes, atomizer strengths, nicotine strengths.
And it doesn't stop.
It doesn't
innovating.
stop. It just keeps happening. Things keep changing. It's always in flux. There's never this rigid setup. And you, Mr. Customer, we are going to ask you a bunch of questions to try to determine what we think you should start with. Should it be product X, product Y? It doesn't matter. We are going to ask the individual and treat the individual as an individual, and not throw a blanket and try and cover everyone with the same thing. It doesn't work like that. People are different. People want for different things. But you have to understand that smoking and vaping don't work together. It's going to be a lot harder than just ripping the plaster off, which is always going to be my first advice.
Yeah.
Rip the plaster off. Get it done. Deal with the first 2 weeks that are not going to be pleasant. I try to prepare you for that. I always say vaping comes with admin. Cigarettes have zero admin. Nowadays, disposables can be put in the same classification, really. There's no admin to this product. I don't even think there's care being put into the product. So how is the person using it going to get care out of it? But if you sit and you fiddle and you at least just change the pod, at the very least, just fill the tank. It's It's not going to kill you. It's not. I'm not asking you to name your firstborn after me. I just want you to take the tank, take the thing open, put some fresh juice inside, put it back, and carry on. Oh, and charge it.
But it's those interactions and those demonstrations and those walkthroughs that are coupled with other parts of the conversation that brings customers back and then eventually gets them to a point where they are smoke-free, and for many to a point where they start reducing their nicotine strengths and now become a full-fledged non-smoker vapor, and for some completely quit altogether. Now, what are we looking at in the Vapor Corner, in the Vapers Corner's spectrum of shops? What does the typical customer look like? I know it's going to be difficult because Equestria is a very different location, very different to what we have in Kyalami.
It is the Rainbow Nation inside of Equestria store.
Okay.
There are people from all walks of life, all demographics, all economy groups. It's from car guards to learned doctors. And we have the occasional celebrity, but I don't give a crap about celebrities.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also very different store to store.
Yeah.
I mean, the Equestria store and the Atterbury store is literally 10 minutes apart, but you have vastly different people. And then you have Kyalami, which is in Midrand, and you have completely different people there. But I think what has always been a blessing in disguise for us is Vapers Corner has been grown organically with word of mouth. And with that came, I'm pretty sure, some warnings. So I do not believe we have maybe apart from the Atterbury store, which is very new, they've only been open for 2 years, but we've never really had the problem of underage vaping. You're going to get your one or two. These boys grow beards now. You can't just magically know all of them. But the point is, with that word of mouth always came the Atterbury, why are we vaping the same flavor, but yours tastes so much better? No, I went to the guys at Vapers Corner. They really know what they're doing. Oh, yeah, but I vape high nicotine. Don't go there. And did it sometimes maybe financially kick us in the butt? Sure. But what we got is by doing it right and keeping the morality of the vaping experience alive is it kind of sift out the bad ones even before they got to us, because you do have a level of people that you cannot educate. As much as you want to, you cannot educate them. So all you hope is to be the example and hope that that uneducated person has a friend next to them that can be educated and you get a hold of that person. I mean, when it comes to that communication and that education, I will never forget the first time that Craig trained me on sales and in the vape shop, and he was busy helping this older gentleman, but like in his 30s, not old. And sorry. I was a kid then. Well, not a kid. I was young, and it was an adult.
Can I get my walker, please?
Sorry for the two men and the beards here.
Need to have a hip replacement
I
soon.
do apologize.
30. Jeez, it was back in the days when it was black and white. Eh?
Dude.
Right. But I'll never forget him helping this guy with the setup, and this guy made it so clear, I don't have problems with money, this story, that story, and I want to quit smoking. And I got the whole setup, from the one cabinet. For anyone that has never seen our stores, our different cabinets would usually go your starter kits, your smaller devices, going to your more experienced stuff. So you can. And Craig took him through everything, and he got to the point of sale. And this was, for me, seeing the sale. I'm like, when I saw the total, I'm like, this is going to be a big sale.
But I mean, one of my favorite memories of Vapers Corner is the coffin.
Yes, the infamous coffin.
The infamous coffin, yeah.
Very
and
infamous
for those people out there, Craig created a coffin with a Perspex glass in the front. And
That's
I'll let Craig.
That's glass, boy.
Sorry?
That's glass.
Is that glass?
That's glass.
Okay. I'll let Craig fill you in on the concept around the coffin and how it works.
Yeah.
Go for it, Craig.
The coffin came about because I wanted, when we opened up the store, I wanted a physical representation of what we are trying to do. And I came up with the idea, coffin. Let's have a coffin with a glass front and have customers put in their boxes of cigarettes when they quit. And we'll seal that box with a sticker and write their name and the date on it.
Not an empty packet.
Yeah, not an empty packet.
Your
The
last-
coffin demands sacrifice.
Yes.
So be it one, be it many, irrespective. It's that sign, it's that level of commitment that you have to give. And believe me, Kurt, I've gotten single cigarettes packets, but I've also got cartons being thrown into that coffin. The coffin, it's 8 years old. It is a life-size coffin, and it is about 2/3 full as it stands today. A lot of people said, "Oh, well, are we going to sell the cigarettes?" No, we're not going to sell the cigarettes. That's disingenuous. No, if it happens that coffin becomes full, I'll mount that coffin on a wall. I'll have another one built, and I'll start filling that. I'll keep going.
It is quite a spectacle. And
it is a thing. It's also the thing that got our TikTok cancelled, by the way. And I'll say that. My wife decided she was going to create a TikTok page for Vapers Corner. And within 2 months, we had grown 11,000 followers.
Based off education.
Yeah,
Sorry,
mainly
I
education.
I have to say that we didn't sell products on TikTok. We didn't actually push our store. We pushed education. Well, no, we actually started on Facebook. We had a Facebook Live, me and Craig, and all we did was educate. And that got banned.
Yeah, we've been hard into harm reduction, the harm reduction aspect that vaping offers compared to combustible cigarettes. And we kept wanting to pursue that narrative and educate accordingly. And these misconceptions that are out there brought to us by the WHO, Bloomberg, and all those lot, who are pushing their narrative, that they've got a lot of money and we're small, but we are trying to swim upstream, technically, which is a difficult way to swim, but more rewarding, I think, at the end of the day, when you get through to that person, when you hear, I feel better now than I have felt in the past 10 years. What's that evidence based off of?
And we made a video, and we didn't even make a video we didn't even explain the coffin. It wasn't even related to that. It was in the background.
It was for you. When you asked me to do a video.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Then why are you bringing me into this now?
Because you asked us for a video. We took a video, and it was for the VSML website, and we didn't edit. We didn't blur out
the coffin.
The contents of the coffin. I don't think the coffin alone would have gotten us banned, but
it was
But we showed the coffin in all its glory. The next morning, permanent ban.
No warning, no explanation.
Try as we might
ban.
To get that reversed, we got that.
Jeebus.
Anything we have tried subsequent to that to create another page fails miserably within seconds of inception. So, we have been flagged. We have been red flagged or shadow banned or whatever the hell you call it. We have that. And TikTok is no longer a thing. Because my wife used to make some good ones. And and
more
educating parents.
Educating
parents. Hey, guess what? 5% is 50 nick.
Yes. That's actually a very interesting point. Is that we had a video that it's very rare for a South African page to have a video that reaches into the 100,000s of views, and we had this video. How funny is this? That our most viewed video on TikTok while we still had TikTok was us. It was a video of me and him educating people that parents, when your kid tells you, "Mom, I use my dispo but don't worry, it's a 5 milligram." that it's not 5% is 50 milligrams of nicotine. It is not a 5 milligram.
Yeah, because
A 2% is 20 milligrams.
Yeah.
And that video, oh my goodness.
But this touches on a subject which I've known for some time is how, for lack of a better word, anti-disposable you have been. You've always objected to the concept of disposables, and maybe spend a couple of minutes just discussing what is the objection around disposables.
In my opinion, they are designed to addict. Nothing else. Does sometimes good things happen born of that? Yeah, sure. Just like with Twisp. Twisp was a brand that all of us knew. We didn't really like it very much as independent vape stores and whatnot. We didn't really like it very much, but you cannot fault the fact that how many people actually quit smoking thanks to that company. So brilliant. So, same kind of thing applies here. There's just this, the convenience, and it appeals to a sort of customer that isn't really a customer of ours, per se. They don't really care where they get it. They just happen to be in our store, and at only comparatively recently, we only have them now. I had to bend the knee because after the lockdown and after taxation took place, our businesses took a dip. I think I'm being very euphemistic when I say dip.
Yeah.
It's bad. Have we recovered? No.
Can't say that.
No, we are down pre-COVID 40 to 50%.
Because I mean, the reality is that the tax came at the worst time.
Yeah.
For the vaping industry, because they were still trying to recover from the ban. There was, and it also was when disposables started really coming into the market.
It was a combination of
a perfect storm.
A perfect storm. It almost feels a little planned, but I don't like saying things if I can't be factual about it. But for all of these things to happen so in such a dance almost, it's very unlike, it's weird. It feels very, very planned, and that actually also shows the how much we try to push the morality of vaping is in the height, and we can say this with confidence. I do feel the sale of disposables, especially under youth, thank you to a different product that is now on the market. I do believe that it's a little less than it used to be.
Especially with the youth.
Yeah, but in the height of disposables in South Africa, Vapers Corner did not stock disposables.
Yeah, we didn't do it when all the cool kids were doing it.
On top of that,
we were the ones
that goes into another thing, adding to the problem with the disposables. Not only did Vapers Corner not stock disposables, if we find a brand of devices to not follow rules or is not a quality product for our customers, we stop stocking it. We are one of the only stores that has kept out 3 major international brands of devices out of our stores because we didn't like telling a customer, spend your money, and knowing that they're going to come back and say, this thing is leaking, this is happening. Did we lose money there? Sure.
Yeah.
But when we told the customer, buy this, it's going to work, within educating them, do it right, that's why we did that. And with your disposables, I do not like lying to a customer.
Yeah.
I got that from Craig as well.
The product is a lie. The product, as it sits there in its box, is a lie.
And it's very difficult because I understand I've never gone to Shenzhen, China to see how Vaporesso makes their devices. But I'm pretty sure with the relationships that Craig has built with them, should we ask Vaporesso, can we go and see where you make your products? They will say yes. But that has never been the main concern. The main concern has always been e-liquid. What are we selling to customers to inhale and consume? And we have such amazing local juice makers that we can go and visit their labs, see how it's made, see the quality. And now I have to sell a product to someone. And if they stand in front of me and say, what's in this? I need to go, sorry, I don't know. But is it then healthy for you? Sorry, I don't know. Wait, I started doing my research. No, it's not. Then why are you selling it? Because you want it.
Because people want it. And they're not going to listen to sense. They're not going to, I mean, Equestria Vapers Corner was one of the last stores that I know of in South Africa to even stock fifth strengths of nicotine. Prior, it wasn't even really a thing prior to COVID, only kind of since COVID became the staple. And bottom line is if vape shops, brick and mortar vape shops and online vape shops were the sole purveyors of disposables, I would not have the strong opinion that I have. But they're not. They're bloody everywhere.
Yeah.
And that person at wherever shop X selling you this dispo along with their towels or whatever the hell they're selling, because carpets, it really does span a whole smorgasbord of different locales, then I wouldn't really have this issue. Because we have, if vape shops had vapes and only vape shops had vapes, we wouldn't have this problem. You could still have that opportunity to educate your customer. But your customer is now, a disposable customer is not loyal. They are fickle. They will drop you in a second to go for thing X. Oh, I want more. I want a bigger puff count. Oh, I want smaller puff counts. It is an unwinnable race.
But I think it's not even the customer. It's actually the manufacturers are fickle too.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest challenges, which is from a consumer point of view, is that you almost never ever see the same disposable available within a 6-month period.
Yes.
They change constantly. And, I think a lot of the stuff, one of the biggest problems that I have with a disposable is, as you said, the product in a box is a lie. And that just boils down to, for example, the puff count. The puff count is one of those megapixels of the vape space. Actually, what does it mean? It doesn't really mean much. But be that, in saying that, as a tobacco harm reductionist, I've always had the belief that a vape product or less harmful alternatives should be available where the more harmful product is at space.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it should be a free-for-all. I still have a very strong opinion that any consumer nicotine, in fact, I'll even broaden that, any nicotine sold to a consumer needs to be sold under some kind of licensing model.
And I have been preaching that forever.
So if you fulfill the requirements and criteria to sell nicotine, irrespective of whether it is in a cigarette or in a vape or in a patch or in a gum, then that's the first hurdle that needs to happen. And that licensing has to be renewed, not only just by a simple process, but actually some kind of verification that happens.
But even if you use only that criteria by having less harmful products sold with harmful products, that's only 10%. What about the 90% of the carpet sellers and the paint shops?
But that's where the licensing model.
That's where that comes into play. Yes, because you can understand that a cigarette counter in a big chain store would have an alternative. That's smart. But once it goes outside of there now as well, you can't control it. And the worst of it is when is the time going to come before someone gets a dodgy one, but a really dodgy one, and they get sick, God forbid, die from this dodgy product? Who's held responsible? Oh, no, vaping industry. Right. No one's going to look at, oh, no, it was this small demographic, this isolated incident in this one place. We've sorted it out. That's not going to happen.
It would. And it definitely would. And it's actually a conversation that's been had many times before, is that probably vaping industry is the only industry in the world that takes the blame for any kind of event that could have happened. it's like blaming the entire Poloni industry because one happened to have listeria in it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the burden that we have to carry in
That's
this.
the nature of the beast. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's go back to 2020 and the impact of that ban on your customers and your stores. I don't know if was Kyalami open in 2020. Yes, it was.
It was already.
Atterbury wasn't, but Kyalami was. Yes.
What was the Lee? What was the impact? Because you were in Kyalami then.
No, at that point I was still. I literally went over to Kyalami just after COVID. So at that point I was still at Equestria. But look, when it comes to that whole experience, I first will start that to say that we were very, very fortunate, firstly, that we had two directors that were some of the very few, seeing that everyone believes that if you're a vape shop owner, you're bad and you want to kill people and all of this. We're
predatory.
Yes, we are still a retail store. Both my parents work for retail stores. Both my parents did not get paid from the first day of lockdown. Here is the bunch of us in a vape store, and we got paid through the whole of lockdown.
Progressively less and less.
Yeah. As money obviously started drying out, but just a testament to this notion of, these vape shops is just out to be so bad. It's not completely how people have it, but
our doors were closed for 5.5 months.
Yes, we were completely closed.
Revenue,
and for some kind of reason, I think targeted as well, because we were legally allowed to go to the store, do a stock take, move our stock around so that the sun doesn't hit it the whole time, and make it go off. And almost every single time we did go to the store, we had police there. What are you guys doing? Nothing. As you would want us, we are doing nothing. Because we also said we didn't want to do... Why would we want to help people illegally? How does that even make logically sense? So why do you want to do this? Because I'm helping someone, healthy alternative, but I must do it illegally. That doesn't make sense.
And we all know all the profiteering that took place around that time, the exorbitant fees for alcohol, tobacco, and vaping products that were, quite frankly, shocking.
So we were very fortunate that we did not have anyone that was laid off. But we did have quite a lot of plans of expansions and ideas coming up before going into the whole COVID thing, that after lockdown that we had to go
rethink.
We have to stop everything.
Breaks.
And first it was to recoup, and we very quickly realized there is no recouping, because not only did we walk back into a completely different industry, we walked back into uncertainty. I mean,
people change, dude.
Yeah,
people change.
It was just this very weird experience. It's an industry where you are, open, and you have these conversations, and now you have these people with masks. We were also very known for our stores that we had more than 390 different flavor profiles on our shelves, and we had a tester sample device for each and every single flavor. That's gone now. So you have these people walk in, and I understand people were mad. Our human rights were taken away from us. We were put in cages.
Also kind of gave them up to a degree,
our choices were taken away, and now they walk into the vape shop. Yes, I have a choice again. I can buy my vape juice. Can I sample that? Sorry, you're not allowed to do that anymore. So we walked into a lot of anger as well. There was a very much like, oh, why didn't you guys want to help us in lockdown? Everyone was doing it. I'm like, but guys.
The offers I got for the contents of that coffin.
Oh, yeah. We literally got emails from customers saying, we know you guys have that coffin with cigarettes.
SMSs, WhatsApps, you name it, inundated. It was about that coffin. Never gonna sell.
The levels of desperation, huh?
Yeah, because obviously the Equestria customers, they know that coffin exists. It's a thing. We used to cart it along to the vape cons.
I remember I got a phone call. Where someone had asked me, "Is it okay if I mix vanilla essence with with
Shame.
with I think it was they found VG at one of the chemists.
Dolly Varden, most likely.
Yeah, and he phoned me and said, "Is it okay if I just dump a bottle of vanilla essence into this VG for my vape juice?"
Don't taste like it smells, bro. That vanilla essence doesn't taste
I mean,
like
the desperation was absolutely. It was heart wrenching, absolutely heart wrenching.
And to hear stories of how people who were shops who were selling to people during the lockdown. Obviously, after when we all got back together, you start hearing these stories. How the guy would spend $3,000, he'd get the box full of wood shavings or shredded paper. And who are you going to bitch to?
Yes,
Who are you going to complain to? You're going to,
So
I've
there's
been
a lot
done
of-
in. No, you haven't.
Yeah.
So
No,
there
it
was a lot of that, and I can understand that people got angry. I can understand people were not unhappy when they returned back. I mean, a lot of people started working at home, and that sounded like a good thing for some, but you need that work environment sometimes, yeah, to get the work done. When you split them all up, harder to probably manage that. But yeah, the lockdown was atrocious, and the industry is still suffering because of it.
Yeah.
And with no hopes of getting better, because we still have the tobacco bill looming, and how that's going to play out. Because we've done that just when the tax kicked in last year in June. We had a boost in sales, and then we were trying to, because we had already been privy to the bill before then. And so what we did, and I showed you the pictures, is we blocked out every single pigeonhole in the shop with some points that the bill is, addressing or proposing, should I say. And this is what got me, is the people, this is about being uneducatable almost. The people don't see the forest for the trees. Here I have access prohibited to a degree, obviously. You can still flip up the paper and there's the stuff, but what the papers are saying about the jail, the potential 20 years in jail, all of the ramifications that this bill holds, and the people don't see that.
No,
they just don't have access. Oh, thank goodness you took the papers down. It's like that. That's not.
That wasn't the point.
That wasn't the point.
Yeah.
You don't get the point. You can't see past your own nose.
But don't you think that's, for lack of being sworn at or comments in this video section, isn't that typically a situation that we find in the modern world? I was going to say in South Africa, but based on my engagement on international fronts, is that it's something that's occurring everywhere. Is that the reaction is only its loudest after everything has passed and after everything, the process is done and dusted.
No.
Then the reaction is, and no matter how much time you spend trying to educate it, and I've spent many months, many months trying to do so. You never ever get that. It never breaks through, and it only breaks through when it's all done and dusted, and now it's impossible to change. And that brings me into what we saw with the tax, is that, there was a process, and how many individuals or how many people actually got involved in having those conversations.
We had that petition.
We had the petition. We had.
How successful was that?
No. So the tax, with obviously the influx of disposables, has had a remarkable impact on the industry as a whole. And I'm of the firm belief a very negative one. Just that combination of the two. And like I've said in the previous episode, is that it probably has created more harm than good. the
Vastly
intention,
so, yes.
yeah, the intention was to reduce the consumption, and for lack of a better word, to minimize addiction. However, when they've modeled it in such a way, it immediately manipulates the market and pushes people to a stronger, probably more harmful product, depending on what the product is and how it's used, purely because no one listened.
Yeah, no one. It's like they don't care to listen. That it's not immediately. They're only going to bitch and moan when the stuff's taken away from them.
Yeah,
and that's the knee-jerk reaction that all of us have built into us. Is, oh no, I've been done wrong. Oh, let me do something. But hi, I've been telling you for the past 3 years that this is potentially going to happen, and all you can see is where's my 6 milligram, or where's my 50 milligram, where's my whatever, where's my product.
But now the person that used to have before the advent of longfills, the person that used to have a 6 milligram was now forced to move to either 12 or go a 50 milligram disposable, which was cheaper.
Another big problem here, Kurt, is people's, I don't want to say inability, their fear of longfills. It is a legitimate fear.
That's that admin discussion you're talking about.
Yeah, it's that admin discussion. They almost can't conceive of, all I have to do is come and buy my next product when this product is half. Based upon my usage, blah, 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 blah. But the friendly vape shop guy will maybe help you so we can determine when you need to buy. All it takes is just a discussion quickly. Just buy then. Just to adapt to that is an ongoing siege almost, because I have had customers who have literally stopped vaping because they now have to mix their juice. Stopped. Do they probably smoke cigarettes? Yes, they do, because I smelled the last one that came walking in there.
And this is the sad thing about it, is that you just spoke earlier about the perfect design for nicotine delivery is the cigarette. It is simple. It's basically ingrained, if for lack of a better word, ingrained into our consciousness how a cigarette works.
Yeah.
I guarantee if you take a cigarette to anybody that's been ignorant around it or has ignorance around it, they immediately understand how it works, kind of thing. It's almost a part of our fabric. And you've now pushed them into areas where that same level of convenience occurs. And removes that opportunity of them actually doing better. And now, for a moment, I'm not saying that disposables are all bad. I just say that it's based on the price, the taxation model, is forcing a lot of people to go in an opposite direction.
But how stupid is the taxation model?
No, the taxation model is always going
to be by volume.
Yeah,
I personally could never even get to the why. I'm sure there's a reason that
ironically, we have a different pricing model for grades of petrol. But we don't have a model around strength of nicotine.
Let's say alcohol gets measured or taxed in the same way. A pop sock is going to cost you more than a bottle of Johnny Blue.
Yes,
if you work it out like that.
Yeah, but the reality is that the combination of that model and the influx of disposables, in my view, has manipulated a market into an area that's created more problems than that's solved. Because now the influx of disposables and also the number of bad actors that are jipping the system is now pushing these products to the very same areas that the tax was purported to prevent from happening.
Yeah.
It's forced it into those areas.
It's making it happen.
It's making it happen.
It is, but I do think that there is a component of blame that is not put in the right place. And I'll then be the person of
the black sheep again.
It is obviously my opinion. But there is a level of blame that vape stores in South Africa has to put on their shoulders and deal with it. Because if you look at the prime of vaping in South Africa, I will say 2018, 2019, well, 17 to 19. When someone walked into a vape shop, whether it was a customer or a juice maker, and I'll explain both, a customer listened to whatever the person behind the counter said because that person is the expert and that person educated them. They spend close to a half an hour just to buy a device. Same with the juice makers. When a juice maker walked, or any supplier walked in, they didn't even walk in with a finished product. They walked in with samples. What's your opinion on it? Let your staff test it. This is what I want the label to look like. Yes, it seems like you're marketing a bit for kids here, let's fix it. The shops dictated the industry and what needs to come in, what is going to sell, what is not going to sell. Lockdown came in, and that to me is the main thing that changed, is that people got so desperate for sales. And don't get me wrong, I understand that you need to keep your doors open, but people got so desperate that they changed that demographic completely, where now the customer is dictating to the store what to get in. And that can become problematic because you are not an expert. You are actually an IT specialist. You know nothing about vaping and the industry itself. So you can't tell me what I must get in because I have more information than you do. And so it's circled because now I'm listening to the customer, but what the customer is asking, I can't get. And then it did this turn where back in the day, manufacturers, international manufacturers, did not advertise to customers. They gave us advertising material to give to the customer. Now you have a customer walking in because they just saw on X company, disposable company's website that they're advertising this, or they're running this competition, or this brand is doing this. So now it circled back again where the manufacturers are choosing what is going to be the product in the stores. So it's very difficult if I educate a customer in saying, understand that a bottle of e-liquid has an ingredients list of 3 ingredients. Your disposable has an ingredients list of more than 100. Understand what is in it. But they've heard that once now and they've been at 10 different stores. Why would they believe me? We all know what it feels like to scroll on your social media and you see this little group that's fighting for green plants and you're like, oh, this is so irritating. Meantime, they're actually speaking facts, but because no one else is speaking about it, this becomes irritating. So when the customer walks into our shop and we go, listen, you've been buying 5 disposables in the last week. Why don't you move over to a pod system? Why? Well, it is better. What makes you say that? Because they've heard the exact opposite from reputable stores, big name stores, 5 stores in a row. Why would they believe number 6 Vapers Corner?
It's perfectly okay if you vape your Nick salts on a 0.15 ohm atomizer. It's perfectly safe, according to the other stores. And you come into our stores and we tell you no, but 6 other people told you yes.
But that goes back to that's the caliber of the people behind the counter. And
it's a lack of education, Kurt.
Yes,
simply put.
Absolutely, and it's also it stems from a desperation. Because once again, when you're putting these policies in place and you're creating an incredibly difficult environment to operate in, corners will be cut. Safety measures will be reduced. Standards will be ignored.
Cause and effect. So.
Absolutely, and that's the repercussion that I feel that the tobacco bill, for just to shorten the name, will have. Is that it will have a very negative impact, not only on the industry, but on the end user too, because it forces people to cut corners. It brings a set of profiteers, as you said earlier, into the fray that will now become the actual thing that they were wanting to escape.
Such is the consequence of prohibition.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
No.
It invariably leads to a black market. Think 1920s in America with the liquor prohibition. Gave rise to the Cosa Nostra to move in. Gave rise to hot rods being built to outrun cops. Cause and effect.
The birthplace of the mafia.
Birthplace of the mafia.
So, and we've seen this in Australia, and we've seen it in other parts of the world where you know, the criminal element starts creeping in. And just this morning, yesterday morning, the 115 tobacconists or smoke shops have been burnt in Australia because there's now a gang turf war.
Yeah.
Because the selling of illegal vapes,
yeah,
as well as illegal tobacco. But
I mean, we can't even compete with the black market as it is. We could never.
No.
But since the lockdown, when the doors were opened, we had this other fight going on. Yeah, we want to help people quit smoking. Okay, now we have to compete with a 7 to 10 rand pack of illicit cigarettes with a couple $100 vape. Takes a lot of convincing to some.
Yes. And it cuts away a huge part of the market.
It makes it insanely difficult for us to do what we do with ease. Where previously it was kind of easy because cigarettes were expensive. Not so much now.
No.
Now we're sitting in this whole new situation.
Very different paradigm.
That's not going to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know, well, especially the people around this table right now, know that the legitimate cigarette trade is down 60-70%. Well, they're not going to recover from that.
No.
No one's going to recover from that. Only the fat cats in charge of the illicit things, they're going to be making money. No one else is going to be making money.
So, guys, we can go on forever.
Yes, but
We
we
certainly
probably
can.
not going to.
Yeah. Given that the tobacco bill is now in our horizon, and it's been part of our horizon since 2018, if you were given the opportunity to speak to the portfolio committee, what would you like to share with them? And obviously, you know, be as respectful as possible. I mean, but what would you like to share with them, and what would you like them to know from your perspective?
Well, I'll say, firstly, I think apart from what we've all touched on the fact that there's this miseducation on what vaping is. So I would urge any official in the medical industry and in the government to do your research on what vaping is. That's the little bit of it. But the bigger part of it is understand the impact that the vaping industry has had on South Africa. We had the honor the one day to sit in when you had your podcast with the owners of the vaping World Vaping Alliance, and there was something mentioned that really touched me, and that's the fact that we've never had so many people not smoking cigarettes in South Africa ever. That's a fact. Yeah. It's so weird to see places, restaurants, and you see all these people, and whether it's a disposable or not, they don't have a cigarette. So before you completely kill something, try to see the positive in it as well. But away from that, understand that we are not just a shop that is run by one individual from one demographic in South Africa that is making all of this money. No, it's a shop has 4 to 5 people working, and it's diverse. I understand that usually when the vape industry has people speaking up, it is usually from one demographic, and people had this misconception, I think the government has, that the vape industry is only owned by this demographic. No, it's not. We are giving work to multiple people locally. We have one of the best e-liquid industries in the world. We can go and compete on international level, and we'll be able to win. 99.9% of e-liquid on our shelves is made in South Africa. It's 100% a local product. So when we go down, that goes down as well. Don't just see the 5 staff members in the shop that's going to close down. See the juice makers.
There's an ecosystem.
There's a whole ecosystem that's going that we are keeping alive. That job loss is not as easy as just go and get a job, because there's one thing that I wish they would know when it comes to job opportunities within the vape industry. We are one of the only industries that you can walk in and have no education behind your name. You just need a passion. And you can become one of the best vaping salespeople in all of South Africa. We are one of the only industries that will take someone in that has a troubled past, that needs a second opportunity. Who else does that?
Very few.
Someone that needs to sweep the street. We are giving these opportunities to people, and on top of that, you have a smoking problem. We have a solution. Why wouldn't you just give us the one opportunity to show you, because it's very easy to do so. Should I quickly get 5 to 20 customers? Not a problem, I can do that. But they have to keep in mind that when we do these petitions, and they're very quick to say, but only this amount of people spoke up about it. Yes, because we don't have faith. We don't have a support system. We have nowhere. If a youth member comes to me now and says, I see that you're a leader in the community, I want to stop smoking, but I'm under 18. I must show him a way and say, well, sorry for you. I hope you stay alive up until you're 18, because then I can help you. We have no infrastructure to help our youth, to help people with addiction, unless you have money.
Yeah.
And a vape is far less cheaper than therapy. Far less. Far less. So we have that opportunity to help people. Why can't it be a collaboration? Why can't we work together to do that? We've mentioned it a bunch. We've never said no to regulation. We do believe there is a big form of regulation that should happen, but it has to make sense within that industry.
Oh, it just has to make sense.
This has to make sense. Full stop.
Craig?
It doesn't make sense. Science. Follow the science.
Which science?
The science to prove that vaping is less harmful, because it's out there. It's not by what some would call fringe
tobacco
journalists and whatnot.
Tobacco influenced research.
Tobacco influencers. There's real science made by very accreditable organizations. Let that be the basis. Walk the streets. Go into these shops. See what is happening there. Base your laws on that. Not just like, oh, it looks the same, so therefore we're going to just bundle it up together. It's nice and convenient. And on to the next thing we can stop people from doing, or try and stop people from doing. It's not going to work. It's going to hurt people. Look at it from a couple of different angles than just the tunnel vision you are using with this bill, because that's all it is. This bill is tunnel vision.
Maybe just spend some time with the people.
Spend some time with the people who are affected by this. And I'm talking about people in informal settlements who are selling cigarettes to stay alive. Is it good for people? No. We know that, though. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. Maybe
never let the search for perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who it was. The minister just recently who said less harmful is still harmful.
Yes, that takes away the entire pharmaceutical industry.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You are not just throwing shade onto the vaping industry. You're showing it on everything. Every pill, every medicine. All of them come with side effects.
Yes.
Yeah. Paracetamol is fine. Take 20, and the last headache you're ever going to have, probably. So, their education.
It's ignorance.
It's ignorance. It's complacency. It's we're too busy to bother with the minutia of the educating people process. So, no, let's just throw this blanket, cover it all, because it's the same anyway. Where it's going to just destroy us. It's going to destroy people. It's going to destroy livelihoods. It's going to destroy an industry that is fundamentally just trying to fend for itself and help some folks on the way.
On that very positive note, I'd like to thank Craig and Lee for taking some time out in your day, traveling all the way to us here in Benoni at the Shed and Silo, and sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
It's always a great pleasure to see you again. Keep up the hard work. I know it's difficult. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
For me and for VSML. I really do appreciate it.
We also need to thank you though, because as is mentioned quite a bunch, I urge anyone that watches this to go and follow any and all Vaping Saved My Life pages, because it is very difficult to find the right information.
It's part of our vernacular now.
There's really too much. There's too an easy way to confuse people is to populate a lot of misinformation. The right information is here, but if we can't deny this, so let's just populate a lot. And something that I can say thank you to you for so many years, when people do ask, well, where did you see that? And you can't always on the dot, well, article on this and this and this. I can go, do you have Facebook? Do you have Google? Yes, I do. Go on Vaping Save My Life. Read a bit. So thank you for...
Read for yourself. Don't take my word. Don't take our word for it.
Thank you
Find
for
it
the
out for
work
your
that
damn
you've put
self.
in to find the right information. It's been one of our saving graces, I would believe.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
to
you
you,
very
boy.
much. Thank you, everybody. And that was the episode of PackBreakers. Thank you for watching another episode of the PackBreakers. If you enjoyed our content and learned something, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. You can follow PackBreakers on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. You can also follow us on all our socials on Facebook and Instagram, VSML_SA. But all our information is saved neatly and concisely on our website, vsml.co.za. Thank you. Hey everybody, Kurt Joya from VSML. I have some exciting news to share about our podcast, The PackBreakers. We're shooting at an incredible location, The Shed in Silo. Check them out at www.theshedinsilo.co.za. Get ready for a visual treat. We'll be showcasing the stunning venue and state-of-the-art facilities offered by The Shed in Silo. From their spacious event spaces to the cozy cottages, this place has it all. Imagine a panoramic view, indulging in the farm-to-table cuisines at this restaurant. Fantastic cuisine. And relaxing with the refreshing drinks. Fantastic coffee. The Shed in Silo offers a truly unforgettable experience for anyone who appreciates nature, comfort, and style. So, mark your calendars and join us on the PackBreakers as we take you on a virtual tour of the Shed in Silo. Trust me, this place will leave you speechless. Stay tuned for more updates on our up-and-coming episodes at this extraordinary venue.